the court got to hear the world according to Johnny.
They cannot shut me up, Your Honor. I'm going to tell the truth about this case.
And for him to turn to us and say we're trying to get into his mind and we're trying to prevent the truth from coming out is outrageous, is disgusting.
Detective Mark Thurman is the center of controversy again. First, the defense accused him of being a racist. Then a scuffle with a photographer. And now he's buying a home near an Aryan compound.
The white race is the only people on the face of the earth that does not have a national state.
What will this do to his credibility? And a football story that's better than the Super Bowl. Brian Hennessy's tale is straight out of Hollywood. A regular guy with a fantasy to play in the pros. And with blood, sweat, and tears, his dream came true. Now the NFL's Rudy is running for daylight.
Thanks for watching Inside Edition today. Bill O'Reilly is off. Well, the Super Bowl is this weekend. A little later, we'll have a special report from Miami on a remarkable football player. And we'll tell you about Detective Mark Furman's latest troubles. But first, more drama in the Simpson trial and more delays hold up the defense. Joe Loy has the latest. You're watching Inside Edition. And coming up next, we'll take you to the side of the Super Bowl to meet pro football's greatest underdog.
He never quit. What he did was nothing short of a miracle.
I almost have to pinch myself to believe this is reality.
Super Bowl fever is taking Miami by storm, and our Rick Kirkham is outside Joe Robbie Stadium with the latest. Rick?
Thanks, Madeline. You know, this is the scene every year at the end of January when all roads from across the nation lead to the Super Bowl. This year's game, of course, is being played here at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami, and it promises to be a true David and Goliath matchup, with the Chargers being the underdogs by the biggest point spread in Super Bowl history. But if you think their chances at winning a championship is such a long shot, wait till you hear about Brian Hennessy's million-to-one dream of even playing pro football. This is a story that truly gets our vote as this year's greatest football triumph.
You ready, champ?
I've been ready for this my whole life.
In the movie Rudy, a young man overcomes incredible odds to play college football for the University of Notre Dame. But that Rudy had it pretty easy compared to the pro football dream of a guy named Brian Hennessy, the NFL's Rudy.
He never quit. What he did was nothing short of a miracle.
Brian's impossible dream began in this small working-class town just outside of Philadelphia. One of 5 children, Brian always knew he'd have to work hard to get ahead.
Once I set a goal, I'm going to keep going until I see about 20 cans.
Brian's role model in sports was his 5-foot-tall older sister, Diane.
I was an example for a goal to shoot for. I had gotten a basketball scholarship to St. Joe's, and it paid my education.
Brian did get a football scholarship, but chose to make education his priority.
That's why I chose a school like Bucknell, because of the academics.
Hadjic to the tailback, that's Hennessy. Hennessy off left.
While attending Bucknell, Brian set school records on the gridiron and maintained a 3.5 grade point average.
And will go untouched for the score.
Brian graduated from Bucknell and got a good job working for a pharmaceutical company.
I was worried that he wouldn't have, developed the relationships and get into work like he did with football, but he made a good transition.
Despite a job that kept him on the road 5 days a week, he couldn't get football out of his system.
I can remember standing in a parking lot in South Carolina and running sprints, and all the other business people are leaving the hotel and wondering why this psycho's running sprints in the middle of a parking lot.
When he wasn't working, Brian and his friends pursued one goal: find a team that would give him a tryout.
I can't tell you how many organizations and coaches and everything else that both him and I have called and pretended to be other people.
Eventually, Brian realized his dream would never happen if he didn't make it happen. He knew that the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, Buddy Ryan, loved an underdog. So Brian decided to fly to Phoenix and find a way to meet Buddy face to face. But because of tight team security, Brian would need to come up with a plan.
Brian came up with this wonderful idea of being a FedEx employee.
And he had a package that had to be hand-delivered to Coach Ryan.
I showed up here and I saw the receptionist. Wasn't that intimidating, so I figured if I got to Coach Ryan, maybe he wouldn't be that bad. I was sitting right here, had this speech planned, what I was going to tell him and what I've been through and how I was hungry to play. He walks in, he says, "Good morning, son," and I got so nervous all I could say was, "Good morning, Coach."
Brian didn't know it, but a friend of a friend had shown his tape to Coach Ryan, and the coach liked what he saw.
So, you know, I couldn't believe it after 3 years of people sending the tape back to me. In about 3 minutes, someone had actually looked at it seriously.
Brian was signed that day, but just a few weeks later, his world would fall apart. Brian Hennessy would have to leave the team for not one, but 2 family emergencies when his brother died in an accident, and then his father suffered a heart attack.
When he first woke up, we let Brian in there to have some personal time, and apparently my dad wrote, "This is a new today. I love you, and I'll be all right, and you better get back to Arizona because Buddy's going to be looking for you."
Brian went back to Arizona and found that his notoriously hot-tempered coach stood behind his decision to go home.
Well, like anybody else's father. I mean, you got family come first and football second.
And Coach Ryan had one more surprise up his sleeve. Brian would be playing in his first game on national television.
If I said I wasn't nervous, I guess I'd be lying.
Brian's sisters flew to Arizona for the big game. Brian's starting assignment as a kick returner made him a local legend. The fans even dubbed him Rudy after his Hollywood namesake. And when the Cardinals pulled out a hard-fought victory, Brian's big night was an all-around success.
I wish I could have did a little better returning the kick, but at least I held on to the ball. It's a dream come true. I almost have to pinch myself to believe this is reality.
Now, Brian will watch the Super Bowl at home with his family, and several teams are interested in giving him a tryout for next season. And we'll have more Inside Edition right after this.